Hi everyone, I wanted to shoot you an extra video this month because we have a super powerful alignment that's coming up early in October. And so I wanted to get it to you ahead of time. The astrologers are talking about this a lot. We have another eclipse. This is a solar eclipse that's happening with the new moon on October 2nd. And I wanted to give you a human design perspective on it because it's actually quite interesting. So let's go ahead and dive in. The new transit of the sun and the earth is going to happen on October 2nd. And so that sets the stage for this new moon that is going to be happening in Libra. So here's the chart for the human design perspective on this new moon, which is a south node lunar eclipse. So whenever we have the eclipses, it has to do with the relationship of the sun and the earth and the nodes of the moon, which are actually not planetary bodies. They have to do with where the orbits of the sun and the moon cross over each other. So on October 2nd, the sun is going to move into the gate 48 at the precise moment of when the eclipse is and when the new moon is happening. The moon is also in the gate 48. So we always have the sun and the moon in the same gate when we have a new moon. They're always right next to each other. And so with this one, we also have Mercury is in the gate 48. So we've got those three that are there. So we actually have more than that going on. So I'm going to come back to that in a second, but let's talk first about the gate 48. So the gate 48 is known as depth or the well in traditional human design and in the I Ching, and it's also known as wisdom. It is on the spleen center, and it is really a deep place for research, for learning, and for taking whatever it is that we learn from the outside and then turning it into wisdom through our life experience. Because what we take in from the outside is only really data for us, right? It's when we take something and we actually bring it into our lives, we apply it, we integrate it, we reflect on it, we meditate on it, and we're like, wow, okay, I got something more out of that. And we allow it to change us, right? Because unfortunately, a lot of times what we do is we get exposed to data, we get exposed to information, we get exposed to things outside of us, and cognitively we get interested and we're like, oh, that's an interesting idea. That's an interesting way to think about it. But then sometimes we leave it there, right? We don't necessarily do anything with it, which is unfortunately the way that our school system teaches us a lot. And so as we grow, the way that we truly, truly learn is by when we take what we learn and then we apply it. I see this, my kid right now is studying to be a scientist, and they're doing chem labs, right? So they have a class in which they're learning concepts, and then they go into the lab and then they apply the concepts. And so inside of the school system, that's how that works. But in our regular lives, when we're no longer students in a system like that, it's about how do we take in what it is that we're being exposed to, maybe what we've studied, what we've been interested in, but applying it and actually living with it. That's when we truly get to have wisdom, because just learning information doesn't create wisdom. It creates information. Sometimes it creates understanding, but it tends to stay cognitive. So the 48 is always inviting us to take whatever it is that we're studying, that we're learning, that we're researching, that we're engaged in, and then to apply it so that we can fully transform it into wisdom. And of course, your kernel of wisdom is going to be a little bit different than my kernel of wisdom, because your life experience is going to be different than mine. So this is one of the ways that we really grow and learn together. The 48 is in the logic circuit, and so it is associated with left brain energy. And so it is good for analysis. It's good for research. It's good for strategy. It's good for planning. It's good for all that left brain stuff. But if we just leave it at that level and we don't bring it down into the body, which is more of the right brain, then we cut off the full potential of what it is that we can learn. So during this particular configuration that's happening, we're really being invited by the sun and the moon and Mercury to be looking at what is it that we've been learning from the outside and how are we turning it into wisdom? How can we make it something that is really valuable to us individually? But then as we do that, we also make it valuable to others. This is collective circuitry because the logic circuit is inside of the larger collective circuit. And so it is about how do we create wisdom for a larger group and not just for ourselves. So this moon and this eclipse is happening in the astrological sign of Libra. And Libra does tend to be a little more cerebral. And one of the ways that we know this is that Libra is the only astrological sign that actually doesn't have an animal as its avatar. Its avatar is the scales, right? Which has to do with justice. So this is definitely a more cerebral orientation. And it also has to do with relationships. How are we relating to each other? And it has to do with balance. So one question for us is, are we in balance in our relationships? And that includes our relationships with ourselves as well as with others. And so as we're doing this, as I said, we don't want to stay cerebral because, that's only part of what it is to really learn something and certainly to create wisdom for ourselves. And so I wanted to show you this other image. I just pulled this part out of the human design mandala for the moment of, while this eclipse is happening. And you can see here that, yes, over on the right-hand side of this image, you can see the astrological sign of Libra, right? But then if you dial in, and you go into the gates in human design, you can see the 48. And there's this whole lineup of planets there. There's the sun, there's the moon, there's Mercury, and there's also the dark moon, Lilith, as well. And then next to the 48 is the gate 18, and that's where the south node is in the human design system. So it's technically not in the same gate, but it's still in the sign of Libra, and they're still pretty darn close to each other. So the south node is definitely there as well. And that's why we're getting an eclipse, because the south node is conjunct in astrological terms to all of these other planets that are right there in that gate 48. So let's remember that the sun is what we're here to shine out into the world, right? It's how we shine our light. The moon in human design is what drives us. Okay, it's kind of like that driving force behind us. Mercury is what we're here to communicate about, what we're here to talk about. And we don't talk about the dark moon much in human design. And I have learned from astrologers recently that Lilith, the dark moon, is actually not a planetary body. It is this moment in time, which is the darkest part of the entire month. It's when the new moon is the darkest. And so we've got dark here, right? And that darkness is coming over and hiding the brightness, right? The radiance of the sun for a period of time. And so we've got what we're shining out into the world, this desire to be bringing our wisdom out into the world, for us to be able to be sharing and to be shining what it is that we've learned through our life experience, how we've digested the things that have happened to us, how we've managed to heal from the traumatic events that we've had, how we've learned through our relationships with other people, through our mistakes, right? And how we have grown from that and have met challenges, right? That is the place where true wisdom is developed. And so that's what we're looking for here with this particular alignment. All of these different planetary bodies and these different places in the solar system are all activated right here in this moment. And most of them are right there in that gate 48. Question that I would have for you is, are you sharing your wisdom? Or are you hiding your wisdom? Because that dark moon and the eclipse is a little bit of that hiding energy, right? It's hiding it over. Are you not really showing? Have you not been showing your wisdom in the past? Have you not been showing what you've learned through, the school of hard knocks, as, people used to say? Or are you allowing yourself to really express that? And Mercury's here saying, what is it here you're here to speak about? What is it you're here to communicate about? What is it that you're here to share? Not only do we have the sun here, we've got Mercury doing that as well. And Lilith, mythologically, was known as Adam's first wife, right? Who refused to bow down to him and have him be her Lord. And she was like, no, I'm a fully embodied and awake and alive and vibrant woman, and I do not need to submit myself to you. So she was always a rebel. She was always revolutionary. She was an outlier. And she's like, no, I am not going along with your program. Right? And we have so much energy right now that's happening in all these planetary bodies about exactly that. It's like, no, I'm not going along with the program. Just because some outer forces say I should be this way or I should go this way doesn't mean that I need to do that, right? I'm going to shine forth out into the world my own wisdom that I developed from being connected to my inner guidance and from me engaging in my life and then reflecting on my life and turning those experiences, some of which were really challenging, into gems of wisdom that I can then share with the world. Now, this is also a South Node eclipse. So the South Node is what we brought in with us, right? And what we're letting go of in the second half of life. And we can be thinking of this as, what are we letting go of right now? We still have Pluto in Capricorn at that 29th degree, where he's really just kind of in there in our subconscious and saying, what is it you need to let go of? What is it you need to let go of, right? From the old order, both personally inside of your own self, from your soul's journey, from your ancestral legacy. What is it that you need to be letting go of? And here we have an eclipse with the South Node, which is also saying, what are you here to be letting go of? And part of wisdom, right, is knowing what to let go of. And ideally, what we want to be able to do is whatever has happened to us in the past, we want to digest to the point that it just transforms and morphs into wisdom, that it no longer carries a profound emotional charge, which trauma that hasn't been healed has a profound emotional charge lodged somewhere in the cells of the body, just waiting to, come out in a trigger when something happens in your life that reminds you of that traumatic experience that you have, right? We all have these. We've all had the experiences like this. So we have the opportunity here, particularly during this time of this eclipse, to be saying, yes, I want to let go of, these different vestiges of the old order. I know personally inside of myself, I definitely have been letting go of a lot of things, both from my soul's journey and from my ancestral legacy, and also from earlier in my life, because I want all of those different experiences that have had emotional charge to them to just turn into wisdom, so that my past, whatever is behind me, is neutral. It's calm, it's supportive, and I can feel like I have the hands of destiny are holding me and saying, yes, you've already digested all of that. It's turned into wisdom, and this becomes a foundation for you moving forward into the next phase of your life. And so that's happening for us individually, but it's also happening for us collectively as we're moving through this birth canal that we're here on planet Earth right now, as we are letting go of the old and we are helping to bring in the new of the new world. I do encourage you to come back to check out the major themes video for October, because I'll be setting this whole piece that's happening here early in the month in a larger context. And so there'll be even more richness that will unfold as a part of that. But the main thing I want to just leave you with today is maybe just get out your journal and start writing about like some of the major events that have happened in your life and how those have influenced you. And just see for yourself, do you still have emotional charge that goes along with them? And if you do, see if you can kind of just dig in there a little bit and be like, what is here for me? What do I need to meet inside of myself? What needs to be received? What needs to be heard? What needs to be seen, understood, and loved and healed so that it can become wisdom for myself? It's never too late to do that kind of work. It can be from anything in your life, or it can be even from a family story that's part of your ancestral legacy. But there is a charge for you around that. And it's beneficial for you to see, like, can I digest this experience so that I can neutralize that charge. It's a great exercise just to kind of go and see, because chances are a bunch of the major events that you don't have emotional charge around anymore, right? Through your life experience, you have healed those, but there may be a couple, pop out that'll be a great place for you to be digging into, during the first part of this month, to really be like, how can I be healing this? And that Pluto and Capricorn will help you to do that. You can ask for support from that as well, because we are so blessed right now with so much energy that is helping us to really let go, neutralize, and so that we can come into a strong, resilient place with a lot of stamina, a lot of inspiration, a lot of insight as we're moving into the new world that we are so longing for. I'll also share with you in that video about the theme for October that we are exploring in the Sovereign Sisterhood, and I will invite you to come and participate if that's something that you would be interested in. If you would like to be able to connect with me and with other Sovereign Sisters who are walking their own paths of awakening individually, of course, but we are also walking side by side, shoulder to shoulder, and supporting each other on that journey. And we're using human design and feminine sovereignty and all of the different tools and practices and perspectives that come from those bodies of work to help us to do that. Okay, so breathe, ground, take good care of yourself, drink lots of water, and aim to be as kind as you possibly can during this time, because there's a lot that's going on. Many blessings, much love. Bye for now.